Welcome to episode 11 of Pentagon for Gold as we go into some important tournaments in a hope to raise some money and get some really top quality players for this division in. Today we are playing the second leg of a game against Stellenbosch in the MTN 8. The last game we drew 1-1 with a generally okay performance and a very annoying penalty that we gave away that really should not have been a penalty under any circumstances. The other game today that we will be playing is against Tusker FC in the first leg of the CAF Confederation Cup, and then we'll head into the league for the first few games in the following episodes. But hopefully we can continue our good run. We've had two big 5-0 victories in the games that we showed last time. We then drew in the second leg of the Confederation Cup first round, or the preliminary round rather, and that game I played a backup team that wasn't particularly strong, and we conceded twice in the second half, having gone 2-0 up in the first half. Then in the first leg of the semi-final against Stellenbosch, we conceded that 84th minute penalty. We have got Velapai back, as you can see. He's back on a loan for the entirety of his wages. We're still looking to get Makuma back, but we'll wait on Lewis Sandoval to find out if it's worth going in for him. Because if we get Sandoval, if we can afford to get him, I'm not sure we can at the moment. Then it'll be worth. We wouldn't need to get Makuma as well. But hopefully we can get either Sandoval or Makuma in, depending on how our board let us spend our wage budget. Because as you can see with our finances, we're not at a good enough level that they would actually let us have a better wage budget and transfer budget. But it's certainly a good sign that we have improved so drastically, as you can see in this little graphic. This is quite an important match, so I'm playing a pretty strong team today. Kevin Rivas comes into the centre-back position instead of Mukamela, while Liam Byrne partners him. Velapai has also come into midfield in place of Beloy, and Koopstad staying in that Mazzala position with Chelis in my defensive midfield position. Keegan Buchanan has also taken over from Narodian after a particularly poor game from Narodian in the last match, and Mostilaga's moved over to the left side to accommodate him. Hopefully we can get through after that first round, where really we deserve to go through to get a win at least, and that would have put us in a brilliant position to go through. This is, oh dear, what have you done, Koopstad? Oh, that's not good. And that's probably enough to see us go out, to be honest. That's very disappointing. And he's had a really good start to the season, so I'm very angry with Koopstad for doing that. Oh, I don't really know what to do now. I guess we'll play that. It's a bit of a difficult scenario to deal with this early into a game. It's not what you want at all. Honestly, if we can get through now, I'd be astonished. Buchanan in. Oh, that's a great start, given that we're down to 10 men with an awful tackle from Koopstad. Mostilaga's done really well to finish that, but that's great work from Buchanan. Now, can we hold on for the rest of the game? We're in basically the same position for this chance as we were in the last. Surely we can't get the same goal. Chalice into Velapai now, and Buchanan. Oh, dearie me. Should have done much better with that chance. It could have been 2-0 up. He might have been offside, but I'm not quite sure what was given then. Genuinely, though, that was rather disappointing. But if we can hold on to this 1-0 victory, then we'll go through. And that's all we need, really. And if we can do that without Koopstad, with just 10 men for the entirety of the game, that would be really rather impressive. We're still doing decently considering we're down to 10 men. We seem to be dominating the game. Their chances haven't been particularly dangerous. We did dominate the last game too, away from home, so at least we got a decent opportunity here. It seems that Stellenbosch aren't quite as good this season as they were last season. We're now 2-0 up. Unbelievable. Mostilaga with a good corner, and Matiz was put it away fantastically. And this first half performance has been phenomenal considering we're down to 10 men. Let's not let them get complacent, because even with 10 men, I imagine on Football Manager it's very easy for the players to get complacent. We can't afford that when you've only got two midfielders. Honestly, the fact we're still dominating this is mightily impressive. Buchanan with the free kick, and it's swung wide. Decent effort. never likely to trouble the goalkeeper. But let's keep going as we are, because the last game I played we were 2-0 up and gave it all up for not particularly much effort from the opposition. But then again, that game wasn't particularly important because we were already 5-0 up from the first leg. And now Mbatha, pretty comfortable save for Levenberg, not really troubled by that one. Is this chance going to go on? Looks like it. Levenberg's kicks have gone quite well most of this season, but that kick has gone straight to the opposition. Now they have another chance. What? That was a cracking challenge from Chalice, and somehow they got another dodgy penalty. I'm furious with this. That's twice in a row. We didn't even get to see the referee running towards it. It just gave it straight away. Shocking decision once again. And there are away goals in this tournament, so if we do go out, I will be very angry with the referee because he's given them 2 free goals basically. It's twice now they've had penalties that should not have counted. And Mbatha, just wide. A little bit dangerous now. Let's see what we can do. I think if we try and get more players into the midfield, bring Mosialaga into centre mid, if we can actually get him to stay there. Often have this issue with Football Manager. There we go. So Chalice can stay where he is, and let's get Lucky Beloy, I think, would be the ideal option here. And Matizwa can go slightly to the left, with Buchanan staying on the right. And then we'll also get Masengi as a wing-back on support rather than attack. Don't have many options on the bench. There's not many players that aren't anxious. But I guess this is just what we're going to have to cope with. We're in a bit of a precarious position. If we can get another goal here, I'll feel a lot more confident. Velapai, oh, that was very, very good work from him. He looked very, very dangerous there. So Chalice and Buchanan ideally needs to come off. If my game is going to let me click on those. Let's get Narodian over to the left-hand side. And get Matizwa over to the right-hand side. And meanwhile, perhaps Jesse Don for Chalice, because Chalice is quite tired, and I think he was the first to go to the tired state of fitness. Jesse Don finds Velapai, Matizwa, Velapai again, Beloy. We've got some good players in space, Iverson and Matizwa, and somehow it's snuck past Ngabeni, and that will surely be enough to get us through. That was awful keeping. I'm not quite sure what he's done there. I'll do the classic take off the opposition player. I'll probably end up doing their team talk as a result, but oh dear, that is horrendous keeping. He's just kind of stood where he is and just fumbled it straight in. And unless something crazy happens, we are going through, which is a brilliant effort considering we were down to 10 men within 5 minutes. Koopstad has got to apologise to his teammates, but they've done really well in his absence. And a thoroughly deserved victory for our 10 men. I'm going to tell him off because I can't have him doing that again in future. And at least he's taken that in a good way. He's inspired and motivated rather than upset or demotivated. So we will be playing against Sundown. So that is probably the toughest game we could have had. But we didn't lose to them last season, I don't think. So this is certainly a good sign, and hopefully if we can beat them, we will get £800,000, which would be fantastic for this club. Something which I forgot to mention in the last episode is that we've actually managed to start studying for a National B licence. We already had a National C licence from when we first came to Cape Town Spurs, but the good news is we are finally able, with these better finances, to actually study for some coaching courses. It only costs 480 quid. No idea why I couldn't afford to do that myself without the club helping me, but that's just the way Football Manager is. And hopefully that means we'll be able to get some of these pretty horrendous stats in reality to improve. I'm not quite sure why my level of discipline is so high. I wouldn't have thought that would be something I would put particularly high. I'd imagine I would have probably gone for youngster knowledge over that because I quite like having knowledge of players because it just makes it a lot easier to scout players. But we're studying for our National B licence. Hopefully we can keep that going once we've got a bit more money in the bank. and we can finally get up to the continental licenses. We finally got Lewis Sandoval in on a proper transfer. He has finally got his work permit after about a month of waiting. He looks like a pretty good player, 6 foot tall as a striker, and he's certainly adding a little bit of depth to the squad. That probably means Makuma won't be coming in, but it's certainly a good sign that we're able to get Lewis Sandoval in. If I can get Makuma in as well, I'll do my best, but I'd say it's pretty unlikely at this point. In other news, I believe not Ali Masengi. It was Fumbitsai. He's now become a full South African national as well as a Zimbabwean player. That means we get one more player into our maximum of 5 foreign players available to us. And that means that we've managed to get in Sandoval without worrying too much about filling out our squad too much with non-domestic players, and that's great news. So I'm excited to get Sandoval in to challenge Matiswa, and hopefully, if we're lucky, you'll also see Makuma, but I'd say at this point it's pretty unlikely given we've got minus 1.45k per week in our wage budget. Let's have a quick ask. Come on, lads, give me a bit more in the wage budget. Let's see what they say. I'd imagine they'll say no just because of the financial situation. If they can give me 2.5k or 3k more than they've currently given me, then I can get Makuma in, but I would say overall it's pretty unlikely we'll be able to get him in. Let's see what they say, if it's going to ever show me what's going to happen. It does always take quite a long time at this stage of the transfer window just because there's so much going on with lots of deadline days. Our deadline is tomorrow, so if we're going to get Makuma in, we don't have long to do it. So this is the ideal time to if we can actually afford him. Going, this is quite impressive. It's not quite as bad as when it gets to to June 30th. Everyone's contracts are expiring. So yes, they're not happy to do that. So I guess that means Sandoval is our one option along with Matiswa. Let's get Jody DeLanga in for the under-19s. Apparently he's been promoted a little bit too quickly. But that's great news to get Sandoval in. He won't be able to play in the Confederation Cup, but it at least means that I can rotate quite a lot more with Matiswa. And I think if I get to the group stage of the Confederation Cup, I will be able to play Sandoval. It's just at this early stage you have to register for the first 4 rounds or so. But as you can see, Velapai is our star player, so I'm very excited to get him back in on loan. He is on 2.2k per week, which is quite an upgrade from what he was on when he was first here. But I guess that's just the sacrifice you have to make when players go to bigger clubs. Since we're apparently heavy favourites for this game against Tusker Football Club, I've gone with quite a rotated team, with the likes of Buchanan on the right-hand side with Narodian on the left. Beloyi comes back in instead of Velapai, who's not actually registered for this tournament. Sumahoro comes in and Rivas starts with him. Mukamela starts in place of Iverson. And Matiswa is starting up front, but only really because our other options are not registered yet. But apparently we're heavy favourites for this game, so let's hope that we can get a really good start in this game. We do play in the league in a couple of days' time, so I'm wary. This is a good start, shall we say. I'm wary of tiring my players out too soon, because I imagine that's probably why some of the bigger teams last season didn't do too well. Sundowns just had far too strong a squad for everyone, so they comfortably finished first. But Stellenbosch and I, both of whom I don't think had anything to do with any of the complicated competitions that you have at the start of the season in South Africa, both of us, we did pretty well last season. And a lot of the teams that I'd expected to be second, third, fourth comfortably did pretty badly. So I can imagine that probably the reason for that is just the number of competitions they had to deal with. Buchanan's had an absolute stormer to start this game. You can see why we were predicted to be favourites, because we're absolutely dominating them. Obviously, we're not usually this clinical, but they don't look particularly difficult to get by. And we are away from home here, so I would be very disappointed if we don't go through at this point, given how we've started the away leg. Koopstad, who is going to miss a couple of games in the league because of his bad temper, shall we say. And Buchanan's now got a hat-trick within 10 minutes. He is enjoying this game for certain. I think it might have said that he got a perfect hat-trick there. I'm not quite sure what it said, but I believe it said something about his right foot and his left foot, so I assume it must have been a perfect hat-trick of some kind. I don't remember the header, but what a start for him anyway. Surely he can't score again. Something tells me I could have put out my youth team and they'd have probably won this game, judging by the start we've had in this match. Let's see if we can get some more players onto form, because Matiswa, although he did well in the last episode, hasn't actually scored at all since. Shalulile into Narodian. Ooh, very close. Decent save. But we are looking extremely comfortable. They've not had a chance yet, really. Matiswa can't quite make it to that corner kick. But he's now got the ball anyway. Funbitine to Koopstad, who I think I'll keep on throughout the game unless he gets really tired, just to keep his fitness up, because he'll miss the next 2 games regardless. And Shalulile scored a beauty. What a goal. That is unbelievable. What a strike from Shalulile. Let's watch that one again. He's just floated it right over the keeper. No chance for him. Didn't need a run up at all. That is beautiful. Almost chipped him from that distance, but probably just not quite the right animation for a chip on here. Certainly glad that I rotated my team, because if I'd played my full strength team in this game when I've got some important games coming up in the league to get my season started, I would have been a bit frustrated. We've also got a pretty horrendous run heading into the next game of this tournament, which is against the same team but at home, so hopefully will be a nice easy one that we can rotate for. But we've got a lot of different tournaments, and then the PSL, where we're playing basically every 3 days really, and the lack of players I have in the squad is a little bit concerning for that. At the moment we're doing totally fine, and I'm glad we've got another striker in, but it's a little bit worrying that we've got so few players for potentially about 45 games worth of a season. You'd probably be fine if they were elite athletes, but these guys' natural fitness is probably not fantastic. And Matiz has put us 5 up, and it's not even half an hour in. Ooh, wow. Let's say I was not expecting this, even though they don't actually have any players on this. It's classic for many of the African teams not to have any players, but they've clearly got a bad bunch right now, and we are absolutely destroying them right now, which I don't mind at all. Narodian, it's made its way out to Beloy, but the opposition players got there first. And Tusker still haven't had a chance. No shots at all, and we are playing away from home, so for the second leg I might as well just play my youth players. I don't know if that will actually be allowed, because I don't think I've registered them. But in any case, we can certainly play an even weaker team than this. And I might as well get some of the players that are vaguely important off. Let's see, who is less important? Let's get Cdat on. He can play. He has no ability to play there. Maybe we can get if we put Beloy there. And then I guess Cdat can basically play centre mid. Oh, we'll have to manage. I'm sure we'll be fine, given that we're 5-0 up at half time. I'm not expecting too many goals in the second half, because teams tend to take the foot off the gas once they get into such a ridiculous lead. We've not scored in 17 minutes in the end of that half, so clearly we are not trying our hardest. Funbitine is a little bit tired. I'm not particularly fussed about taking him off. I probably want to get Narodian and Matiswa off. And Narodian here with a chance. Ooh, decent effort from that free kick. A little bit far out, I think, to really challenge the keeper. Let's just get Jesse Don on. We can get, yeah, it'll be fine as a box-to-box. And then we can chuck anyone on, really, as a striker. I think let's chuck on Masengi. He can't play there at all, but who really cares at this point? I could play anyone up there. I just need someone to make up the numbers, to be honest. I mean, I'd be happy to take a player off if needs be, but 85th minute, and not much has happened in the second half, been a couple of chances for us, and the referee's taken pity on them by putting only 1 minute added time. But that was a phenomenal first half. In the second half, we didn't really do anything, but we don't really mind. We won 5-0, so a very good performance. And let's see how the other clubs have been getting on in this. I imagine I won't recognise many of the other clubs in this tournament, because it'll only really be South African teams, and then a bunch of clubs that I've not really heard of from other nationalities. So I've heard of Raja Casablanca, and from what I can see, I've heard of Club African. I think that might be it. Maybe USM Alger and RS Berkane, but the ones that are Moroccan I only know because of the Pentagon save I did last year. Hearts of Oak SC does not sound like a Ghanaian team, but I guess they are. Let's see what we've got in here. So yes, 5-0 victory, very good. Buchanan deserves praise for that early hat-trick, and what a phenomenal performance. So as you can see, our next game against Maritzburg United Football Club and Maracas Swallows. Maritzburg were in the league last season and were in a similar, near to us in position. I think they were a little bit lower in the league. We have beaten them 5-0, I believe, this season at home. If we have a quick look here, no, we haven't actually played them this season. We certainly played them last season. If we have a look at the results that we've had against them, where are Maritzburg United? So we lost 2-1 at home. That was one of the few losses we got last season. It might have only been 2 losses we got last season. 3 losses we got last season. And then we won 4-0 in the Nedbank Cup second round before beating them again 2-0 away from home in the PSL. So for this season, got start with Maritzburg United away from home. Hope we can get a good win. Then we've got a decent run. As you can see here, we've got Sundowns, Stellenbosch, Orlando Pirates. Golden Arrows we're not too worried about. Stellenbosch and Amazulu, and then Sundowns again. A bunch of reasonably difficult games. And as you can see, there's the World Cup in between the Amazulu and Sundowns games. That's the Qatari World Cup. And yeah, we're doing pretty well. We've had a good start to the season. We've got through every game, every leg that we've really needed to. And it's been a pretty phenomenal start to the season with some really good performances from the players. We've actually been reasonably consistent, as you can see. We've only failed to score 2 times in one game, and even then we overturned it in the second leg to get a 3-1 victory against Stellenbosch. For the next episode, therefore, the games that you're likely to see are one of these 2 Supersport United or Stellenbosch FC games in the PSL. We'll see how the other teams are doing in the league. Currently Supersport are top of the league and Stellenbosch are 12th, but Stellenbosch I don't believe have played yet. And actually, if you look at their performances last season, Stellenbosch are the best team. So I guess we'll see how that goes. You'll definitely see the game against Sundowns. So we'll probably have a rotated team for either Supersport or Stellenbosch, if not both. And Sundowns is the really important game, because if you look at the MTN 8, the rules of this tournament, winning it gets you 800k, which for this balance would be fantastic. Hopefully that will be enough to get us into a position to get Bakuma in January, since we failed to get him in this window. He could have come, but I didn't want to risk, because it would have cost about 100k in the end, because he eventually got listed for loan. I didn't want to risk just losing a bit too much money. And actually, now that I've got Sandoval, I've got enough depth at striker, at least for now. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm very happy to have the potential to get quite a lot of money from that one game. And in any case, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.